In the sun-scorched deserts of Shurima, a place where only the strongest survive, Samira was born. Her mother, a fierce mercenary, had taught her how to fight from the moment she could hold a weapon. Her father, a soldier once loyal to the Shuriman Sun Empire, had died in the wars long before Samira had memories of him. Shurima was a land of decayed glory, the fallen empire still casting long shadows over its people. For Samira, life was a series of brutal tests. Survival depended on strength, and from an early age she proved herself worthy. Shurima's deserts offered little but heat, sand, and danger. It was a place where men and women made their living through violence, and Samira quickly found her place among the mercenaries who wandered the dunes. Yet, while others focused on gold and treasure, Samira sought something more, a thrill that only came with the act of battle. To her, the fight was everything: the challenge, the movement, the art of war. Growing up, Samira became notorious for her prowess in both melee combat and gunplay. Her weapons of choice were a custom-built pair of pistols, alongside a finely crafted sword. With these, Samira didn't just kill, she performed, creating an intricate, dangerous dance of death. No one could match her in the wild lands of Shurima, but this was only the beginning of her story. For years, Samira's skills as a mercenary were unmatched, but even the strongest fall prey to treachery. In pursuit of a powerful Shuriman relic, she partnered with a fellow mercenary, a man who had earned her trust. They ventured into the dangerous ruins of ancient Shurima, where treasure hunters and ruin raiders met gruesome ends. It was here that Samira was betrayed. The very man she trusted abandoned her, leaving her to die in the unforgiving desert. Shot, left to bleed out, Samira found herself at death's door. The hot desert sun burned her skin, and the sound of wind sweeping over the dunes was the last thing she heard. It seemed her story was over, just as she had begun to understand what it meant to truly live. But death was not her end. Fate, it seemed, had other plans. Resurrected by the ancient magic of Shurima, Samira was revived by a secretive order of priests. They had seen the potential in her fearlessness, her raw ability, her drive for survival. With the arcane magic of the Shuriman priests, her broken body was healed, but not in the way she had expected. Her essence was transformed, enhanced. Her body was stronger, her reflexes sharper, and her connection to the land of Shurima deeper than any mortal could imagine. She was no longer just a mercenary. She had become something more. The priests, though they had saved her life, did not expect Samira to become one of their own. Her soul was too wild, too untamable. She respected the magic that gave her life again, but she could not abide by their strict, silent ways. She was her own person, a warrior bound to no one. Her resurrection was a symbol of her will to survive. Her rebirth became a symbol of defiance against the harsh world she inhabited, and she soon learned that she was no longer bound by the rules of mortality. Samira was an immortal force, born from Shurima's arcane past, but driven by her own desires. With her new power and eternal life, Samira began a new chapter. She took the name the Desert Rose, a title that symbolized both her beauty and her deadliness. With each battle she fought, Samira began to carve her name into the annals of history. Her fighting style was unlike any other. Her gunplay was as fluid as her swordplay, and she danced through combat like a tempest. She became a living legend, a symbol of both freedom and destruction. However, Samira was no mere mercenary. She was not interested in mindless violence or senseless conflict. For her, it was never about bloodlust. It was about the thrill of combat, the artistry of the fight, and the freedom that came with it. She would fight for her own reasons, not because someone else told her to. She answered only to herself, living in a world where she was bound by no law, no nation, and no ideal. Her connection to Shurima's magic allowed her to walk among the greatest champions of Runeterra without fear of death. Yet, she continued to live by her own rules, wandering across the deserts and beyond, seeking out only the greatest challenges. Across the lands of Runeterra, Samira's name became known. She crossed paths with champions from all walks of life, some who respected her abilities, others who saw her as a threat. One such individual was Draven, the glorious executioner of Noxus. Draven shared Samira's love for the limelight, for the flash and drama of battle. But where Samira was deadly yet graceful, Draven was all about spectacle, flair, and blood. Their meetings were always fiery, and while they respected each other's combat skills, their egos were a source of constant friction. In Shurima, Samira had an odd relationship with Nasus. The ancient godlike being saw her potential, but often cautioned her about the consequences of her reckless nature. While Samira respected Nasus for his wisdom and power, she could not deny that his restraint was at odds with her own untamable spirit. She valued his advice, but she would never allow herself to be bound by his teachings. In the Ionian lands, Samira had only fleeting encounters, but one such interaction with Shen left an impact. Shen, the Eye of Twilight, was calm, disciplined, and serene, everything Samira was not. He saw her as someone who could easily lose herself in chaos. She admired his discipline but refused to be bound by it. Still, their brief encounters were filled with unspoken respect. The Bilgewater city of pirates and mercenaries offered Samira both challenges and opportunities. There, she crossed paths with Misfortune, a sharpshooter whose precision rivaled her own. Misfortune's tactical mind and deadly accuracy were things Samira deeply respected. The two worked together on occasion, finding common ground in their love for the fight, but Samira could never fully align with Misfortune's calculated approach. She was far too wild and spontaneous to settle into the cold logic of an organized mercenary. Despite the various connections she made, Samira's heart remained as wild and untamable as it ever was. She was not a woman for alliances, and she never sought to form deep, lasting relationships. Even when she fought alongside others, she did so for her own reasons, never out of loyalty or a sense of duty. Samira was a mercenary by choice, a warrior by nature, and a survivor by necessity. In a world full of power struggles and shifting allegiances, Samira refused to be anyone's pawn. She was a free agent, bound to no one, and she could not be easily swayed by anyone's will. Her journey was one of self-discovery and defiance. She constantly sought out the next battle, the next challenge, the next thrill. In the end, she fought for freedom, not just for herself, but for the very idea that one should live life on their own terms. Samira's power and her will to survive made her an unstoppable force, and she embraced it fully. Samira's name spread across the world of Runeterra. From the burning deserts of Shurima to the bustling streets of Bilgewater, her legend grew. Some saw her as a hero, others as a villain. To Samira, none of that mattered. Her life was not about the opinions of others. It was about the thrill of combat and the freedom to choose her own destiny. Whether it was fighting for treasure, survival, or simply the joy of battle, Samira lived for herself, and that was enough. In the end, Samira's story is not one of allegiances or empires. It is a story of freedom, chaos, and the unyielding will to fight. As long as there are battles to be fought and challenges to face, the Desert Rose will continue her journey, carving her own path in a world that will never tame her. What do you think about Samira's journey? Do you see her as a force of chaos, or do you admire her spirit and strength? Do you think her quest for freedom will eventually lead to her downfall, or will she always find a way to rise again? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Your support helps me create even more amazing lore content for you. Also, let me know in the comments which Runeterra champion you'd like me to cover next. See you in the next video.